In today's news, Omicron continues to spread rapidly in Thailand. But at this point, does the public even care anymore? Namely, tourist destinations are now voicing their frustration over the government's new restrictions. Meanwhile, Thailand reveals its list of beaches with the cleanest seawater. All this is coming up in today's program. Sawadee krap, you're watching Thailand News Today, bringing you the latest headlines in Thailand and beyond. And in our first story, the Public Health Ministry says the Omicron variant is spreading rapidly in Thailand and has now been confirmed in 33 provinces. Dr. Subukit Sirilak says that out of the 740 infections, 489 have been imported and the remainder are cases of community transmission. Bangkok currently has the highest number, which Subukit attributes to the increased testing at Suvarnabhumi Airport to screen international arrivals. However, in addition to Bangkok, the variant is also spreading in the northeast of the country. In Kalasin province, the number of infections has now surpassed 200, and in the northern province of Lamphun, 4 people have been confirmed as infected with the variant. Their infections have been traced back to the Kalasin cluster, sparked by a couple who recently returned from Belgium. This couple tested negative on arrival and went on to meet friends at a restaurant and bar in Kalasin before then subsequently testing positive for Omicron. While officials were focused on the highly contagious variant, tests are still being carried out to check for other variants as well to monitor the virus for any further mutations. Subukit says these tests are being carried out on international arrivals, people living in border areas, and COVID patients with severe symptoms, as well as clusters with unusual symptoms. Yesterday, the CCSA said government officials are required to work from home for 2 weeks after the New Year holiday, while calling on the private sector to do the same where possible. The Public Health Ministry has insisted that cloth face masks can provide protection against the Omicron variant, provided they're worn correctly. Dr. Subukit Sirilak was responding to a statement from the COVID-19 Information Center, which cited data from Dr. Liana Wen at the Milken Institute School of Public Health at George Washington University. Wen, who is a medical doctor and professor of health policy and management at the university, says cloth masks are all but useless against the highly contagious variant. She recommends people wear 3-layer medical face masks instead, but Thailand's health ministry disagrees. Subukit says cloth masks can protect against the highly contagious variant, provided they're worn properly and are made of muslin. He says many types of fabric have undergone testing at the Medical Sciences and Health Services Department, and muslin comes out on top for protection. Subukit says this is because the fabric can prevent droplets passing through and is reusable. However, Subukit points out that in order to be effective, cloth masks must be worn correctly and cover both the nose and mouth. Tourism operators on Koh Samui are urging the government to reconsider the suspension of the Test and Go entry scheme. Operators are also asking for a sandbox program for Samui, demanding to know why this is currently only limited to Phuket. According to a Pattaya news report, operators have cited multiple cancellations of hotel bookings from foreign tourists who had been planning to visit. The government suspended the Test and Go entry scheme, which has only minimal quarantine requirements, over concerns of the rapidly spreading Omicron variant. Tourism operators on Koh Samui say the sudden suspension has left foreign tourists confused about how to get to the island. Businesses have expressed frustration that they were only just starting to make some money following the country's reopening, and now they're being pushed back into square one. They say the government's flip-flopping could result in tourists deciding to forego Thailand altogether, which will have a long-term effect on tourism revenue. Supalek Tongsuk from the Surat Thani Tourism Council says this is the time of year foreign tourists want to escape the cold in their countries and travel to Thailand. He says the higher costs associated with getting to Samui via the Phuket sandbox model means that tourists will go elsewhere and is calling on the government to act. Last week, business leaders in Chonburi also called on the government to include Pattaya in the sandbox program. They join a chorus of protests from various tourism destinations around the country, where businesses have reacted with dismay to the government's decision to suspend Test and Go and limit the sandbox scheme to only Phuket. China's recent ban and crackdown on cryptocurrency has fueled a crypto mining boom in Thailand, as small investors quickly buy up equipment that are now useless in China. In September, China's central bank declared all digital currency trading and mining to be illegal. Some of the largest Bitcoin mining operations in the world relocated, while many smaller miners are now selling their equipment, and Thai buyers are taking advantage of the opportunity. One Thai entrepreneur spoke with reporters from Al Jazeera and says that those who mine cryptocurrency, many running them from their homes, can earn up to 1,300 baht per day per running machine. A Bitcoin enthusiast in eastern Thailand who now mines cryptocurrency using a small solar-powered processor from his garage told reporters that the moment China banned crypto, he was ecstatic. The miner says he invested 1 million bahts in equipment and made it all back in 3 months. For larger mining operations, Thai investors are looking into operating bases in neighboring Laos, where there's cheap electricity generated by the dozens of mega dams in the country. The wife of the former head of the Italian-Thai development has pleaded with authorities to transfer him out of prison and into hospital care. Earlier this month, Premchai Ganasud was jailed for 3 years and 3 months for hunting and killing protected wildlife in the Thung Yai Naresuan Wildlife Sanctuary. The offenses took place nearly 4 years ago. The Bangkok Post reports that Premchai's wife, Kanita Ganasud, has written to Thailand's justice minister to request that her husband be transferred to a hospital for medical treatment. The 66-year-old is currently being held at Thong Pa Phum prison in the western province of Kanchanaburi. Along with her letter, Kanita enclosed a letter from a doctor confirming that Premchai suffers from various health conditions which require close monitoring. Kanita says her husband's ailments include diabetes, high blood pressure, and heart disease. He has also recently undergone eye surgery. Kanita claims she's particularly worried about his diabetes as he has lost all sensitivity in one of his feet and has some flesh removed. She's also worried that Premchai might also contract COVID-19 in prison, and his underlying conditions put him at increased risk from the virus. The Justice Minister has responded to the letter by saying all decisions must be taken in accordance with regulations, and acting in someone's favor could imply that they are receiving preferential treatment. The Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment has just completed their 2021 environmental quality audit of Thailand, and Prachuap Khiri Khan and Koh Samui dominated the list of cleanest seawater beaches. All top 5 beaches with the cleanest seawater were in the Gulf of Thailand. The best seawater was one of 4 categories assessed by the study, which also analyzed fresh water sources, air quality, and waste management. The top freshwater sources were spread across the country, and the south of Thailand was found to have the best air quality. Bangkok topped the list for the best waste management systems. The release of the list prompted the Pollution Control Department to use the analysis to remind and encourage people to keep Thailand's bodies of water clean and cared for. They reminded people to be mindful of leaving trash on beaches to keep the waters clean, suggesting to reduce the use of plastic bags, or indeed any plastic and styrofoam, and to try to use more recyclable and reusable containers. The top 5 areas on the list are as follows. And that wraps up the show. Thailand News Today will be back tomorrow. Meanwhile, you're now up to date on the Thaiger.